When I have you on my show, I might study you for 2 or 3 hours, looking at your Twitter, looking at your Facebook, looking at your blog, Googling you, trying to find things that maybe fun things that like you might have forgotten about a long time ago that might be something fun to kind of throw in there and ask you about. Like, hey, you remember this? I saw this. It was awesome. I actually did that to a guy. I found this little nugget of fun from his past that he had totally forgotten about. And we started talking about it. I don't remember what exactly was, but, I prepare for these interviews. Now, that's where the listening comes in, though, because I have a little outline going, but I don't follow the outline.
Yeah.
I have some bullet points and some things I'd love to touch on, but I'm listening for things that my guests are going to bring up that can take the conversation into new directions where I'm learning something new about the person. And if I'm learning something new about the person and asking questions about this interesting little tidbit that happened to, maybe it's part of a tangent and they went off and it's like, hey, let's pursue that. Then we're all learning and we're all finding out something new. And maybe the audience kind of gets that I'm learning too, and it makes it more fun and interesting. But I think it's key to prepare and listen.
Doing this interview show, I have learned a shit ton from this gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Todd.Live. Todd, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. Really, really great to have you. I wanted to, and I love your new office, by the way, dude. It's not a new office, is it?
It's actually a master bedroom, but yes, I've moved my office. It's the master bedroom. I've been building my live video studio, as you know, for quite some time and working on it and tweaking and this and that. And, it was over to my right, which is a loft, and that's where I'd really rather have it. But the lighting is really bad, and even with professional lighting, it's hard to get it right. So I have moved everything into the master bedroom of this condo that I used to live in.
Well,
so
I made this studio. This studio was an extra bedroom that we had in our house. So I'm in my house too, and I'm trying to make this look as good as I can, as professional as I can. I still have a lot of work to do. And those of you who are watching, okay, Todd and I have not been doing our shows that long. So this is something that, we talk a lot. We might get into this with Todd. We talk a lot about documenting. We talk a lot about the journey. We talk a lot about the process, the evolution of that, not being stifled, by just thinking too much about it and just doing it. And I think this is another beautiful thing. Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is another beautiful aspect of what we're doing and what's happening in live video is that people can actually watch our journey. People can actually learn from that and then maybe not even make the same mistakes that we are making. I mean, I don't want to say pioneers, but it certainly feels like this is something that is fairly new. It's only been around for maybe 15, 16 months, and a lot of the practitioners are still learning. I mean, am I wrong in that?
I don't think so. I mean, it's evolving at a rapid pace. So there's and there's all sorts of choices in how you go about doing it. So and there's no one right way. I mean, there's ways that I'm going to prefer, and then there's ways that other people are going to prefer, and then some people are just going to prefer picking up their phone and just going live without a microphone and with just a phone, and that's great. But I think it's evolving fast. The choices are immense. And it just depends on what you want out of it and how you want to present yourself and your brand and your show as to what you do. And I think that as you, I know from my experience, as I've gone from this journey, I mean, I started with a couple of iPads and a mixer. And I've just gone from that to where I've got this, I mean, I can't even show you on the screen, but I've got this very sophisticated live video studio going in this bedroom.
Oh, and, you guys, NEZNATION, Todd's setup. I mean, the first time we did this interview, and I told myself I didn't want to mention it because it was really embarrassing. But the first time that we did this interview, Todd was going through his entire setup, which is so elaborate, and I know he's going to get into that. And my setup is nowhere near that elaborate. I mean, I've got some pretty interesting and sophisticated audio equipment. Hopefully the audio is coming through good. By the way, give us some hearts, give us some likes, give us some thumbs up if you could. NEZNATION, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. I am monitoring the comments. I've got a ton of questions for Todd. I know you do too. But, his setup is just unreal. And by the way, Todd, was that something that you were experienced in? Let me ask you a little bit about your setup.
Well, that's the thing. Okay. I knew I wanted good sound. That's all I was concerned about initially, was good sound and having my voice sync properly with, or my mouth sync properly with the sound. That was a very difficult thing to get done, mainly because I had some antiquated equipment. My laptop was old. I just recently bought a brand new, fully loaded Mac that handles the workload, because I was having problems with inadequate. All my other equipment was good, but my computer itself was just dated, and I did it as long as I could, and I tried to work it to where I didn't have to get a new computer right away. But at the end, I had to do it. But I mean, it's been a real evolution. Right now, it's a mess. There's wires right in front of me. I mean, you can't see this because the way the camera is operated. Right in front of me is this major mess of wires going everywhere, but it works. It works. So now what I have to do is I need to document what else going on here. Cord by cord, I need to wind them up and tie them and make it neat. And I put, I label my cords. I don't know if you can see that, but I mean,
I can.
I use gaffers.
Mic. It says video mic.
Yeah, it says video mic.
That's
so I have
smart. I should do that too.
There's probably a product out there that allows you to loop something around, but I use gaffer's tape, and I had some gaffer's tape handy. So I like these white labels. They kind of make it look less professional, maybe because there's all these cords with these little white labels, but it keeps it straight. So if I have to unplug anything, then that's the big thing when you try to have a more elaborate setup, that you've got these cords going everywhere. And once you figure them out, you don't want to move them. And if you do have to move them, you need to have them labeled, or else you've got the nightmare. You see it again. The nightmare re-enters your life. And it has been it's been fun, but there's been a lot of moments where putting this thing together has been a nightmare, and I had no experience. I knew how to plug in various components, but I'm nowhere near this. I've been very fortunate. I've had a person or two out there who I've been able to tap for some knowledge when I've been in a hard spot and couldn't figure something out. But for the most part, I figured this out on my own. And what it is going to allow me to do, like a lot of people are using BeLive, and I may even use BeLive, but what this is going to allow me to do is create professional broadcasts with lower thirds and all sorts of graphics and sound effects and all sorts of cool stuff, and not rely on a platform like BeLive, so that if BeLive goes poof, it's gone forever. I'm not scrambling. I'm still creating what I've been creating anyway, because I've created the studio to have, as best picture as I can have, the best sound that I can have. I can record it for podcast. I can do whatever I want to do. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. And I had a major breakthrough the other day where it all worked. And it does work today. I haven't touched it.
Was that by accident, or did that just come from tinkering? I was telling Nick last night that I've become like a full-time tinkerer, meaning here you hit NEZNATION, if I may, Todd.
Yeah.
If you can get anything out of what we're talking about right now, I would say this, and I'd love Todd's thoughts on this as well. I'm not a technical dude. It doesn't sound like Todd is this technical expert.
No.
And the technology that is around today, and we've talked about this on previous shows, allows for you to focus solely on your message and focus solely on your content and your value and your creativity. Whereas back in the day, 10, 11 years, you had to really have a lot of all hands on deck. You had to have an audio, a producer, you had to have all these, a grip, a lighter, a gaffer. Todd, tell me that breakthrough that you had, was this just through your own kind of quest, or was this something that you got some help? And I think NEZNATION can learn from this, because I think a lot of the reasons why people don't do or people aren't engaging in the kind of social aspects of getting your message out there, meaning live video. And we're all about live video. I love it. I know you love it. And we're going to talk about domain names. Was this breakthrough just through tinkering, like what I was saying, or was this something that you got some help? And how hard was that breakthrough?
Well, it came in stages. Like I said, one thing I did, I'll give a shout out to Cliff Ravenscraft. He and I, we don't really communicate outside of his business. I started my live video studio on my own, and I went to Cliff Ravenscraft's webpage, and I studied and his webpage is Podcast Answer Man, for anybody who wants to go look him up.
And if you don't know who Cliff Ravenscraft is, this is one of the talk about pioneers of podcasting, right, Todd?
Yes. He is fabulous. He's generous. He's fabulous. He knows his stuff. So I knew, and I had met him once I was at Social Media Marketing World. I didn't go in, but I went down there to meet some people, and I happened to get to go to a lunch that Cliff Ravenscraft was at, and he and I sat next to each other. So we got to know each other. I went to University of Kentucky, and I think he went to Northern Kentucky University or some school there. But anyway, so we're both kind of he's from Kentucky. I'm kind of from Kentucky, but anyway, that's another story, right?
Hey, guess what? Guess what? About 10 years of my life, Evansville, Indiana. Not the greatest,
nice.
Not the greatest place on earth, but I was there.
Yeah. So,
no offense to Indianians, no offense to Hoosiers.
I've been to Indiana many times. But yeah, so Cliff, I knew that Cliff knew his stuff because I'd seen him out there. And then when I got to meet him in person, he's very likable, great guy. And so I was going to his equipment page. He has it all listed, everything he uses and recommends and everything. And so I was looking at that and studying it, going to Amazon, going to BSW, going wherever. And I was putting together my studio based on the information that he had. I wasn't paying him for that. I was just using his page as a resource for where to start. So I got my studio to where I was kind of happy with it, but I was having a real sync issue with my voice. And I'm going to be anxious to see how when I go back and watch this on replay, because I actually haven't tested this equipment live yet. So, and I haven't even tested it on Zoom or with anybody else. So it's going to be real interesting when I go back and see this. Ross Brand and I are planning to get together and do a bunch of testing, but I've been so busy on my end, I haven't even reached out yet to take it further. But so I set up my studio to a certain point, and I kind of got stuck, and I wasn't sure what it was. It ultimately was my computer. But in the meantime, I kind of put that on hold, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start my podcast. And I reached out to Cliff and I said, you know what, I want to take your podcast A to Z class. I see it starts in 2 days. When's the next one? And he says, well, the next one won't be until after the new year. And this was like September last year, right. 2016. So he said, if you get in, he said, if you can get it, we've got space if you want to get into this one. I said, well, I'm traveling. I've got a week and a half of travel. I'm not even going to be around to be able to do any of this stuff. He said, based on what I've seen that you've done, because I think the emails have gone back and forth, and he knew I already had the studio going. He said, based on what I've seen that you've already done, you're already through the first week or two of class anyway. Do the best you can, and it's really weeks 3 and 4 that are going to get you through to perfection.
And that was all personal messages. That was all personal emails and messages. That wasn't.
Yeah, well, I think I reached out to him on Snapchat even.
Wow.
Because I didn't know if he would get his emails. And generally people that are very busy and don't check their emails as often or have people helping them with their emails, a lot of those people do check their own Snapchat. So I reached out to him through Snapchat. Sorry, Cliff, if you get a million people snapping you all of a sudden because of that. I think it was
exposure, free exposure.
Yeah. But so I took his class. His class was awesome. It's worth every penny. I think it's a $2,000 class. It totally got me set up for podcasting. And the day that the class ended, the very next day, I did my first episode, went live on iTunes. And so based off of that podcasting experience, he taught me how to do a mix minus, which is very technical. I don't even know that I could explain it properly, but basically it allows you, if I have you on my podcast, you're going to hear everything that goes on my show, whether it's from an iPad or a computer or whatever noises I'm bringing into the show, you're going to hear it all except for your own voice. So my mixer collects everything, even your own voice, but then you have the mix minus, which eliminates your voice and sends all that information back to you. So you can know what's going on and participate in the broadcast as an interviewee. I was able to figure that out with the video production, but it was even deeper than that because you've got to create the mix minus creates like a loop. And I know this gets technical. And again, I don't think I can explain it properly, but you create this loop of information where it goes from one device into another and back to the other device minus certain information. I had to do that with video as well. So in setting up the video studio, not only do I had to create a mix minus with the audio, but I had to create a mix minus with the I don't even know if that's right. But
but I mean, the point is that you got a lot of help. Yeah, I mean, you got one thing that and that's and the technical stuff. I think it definitely goes over my head. But one thing that I think would be a pertinent question right now is why podcast, why interview, and why, and really honestly, Todd, I've always wanted to know this. Because we've talked, and Todd is just a super, super awesome dude, and we actually met for lunch, and we had a great time. Why social media? Tell the NEZNATION audience where you came from, because I know you were a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And what was the appeal? And I know Mitch Jackson, who is very, active in our mastermind group. He's a local guy too. I don't know. Have you had Mitch on the show yet?
I haven't had Mitch on the show
Yeah,
yet.
that'd be interesting to see two lawyers who have really embraced social media talk about their journeys. Why go from that to and again, NEZNATION, I want to say I think it's probably the best. I listen to it all the time on my way to work. I think it's one of the best podcasts, if not the best podcast out there right now.
Wow.
What inspired you to go from that to what was appealing about social media and especially podcasting?
Well, I quit practicing law in 2008 or 2009. I think it was 2009. So I've been out of law for a while. I have several businesses that keep me going. And they're businesses that are unrelated to social media, live video, all this podcasting, all this. So I do those. They don't take a ton of my time. And I'm very fortunate. Those got started when I was practicing law and I was able to leave law because of them. But, so what I do
like passive income, like residual passive income you're getting?
Yeah, it's almost it's almost passive income. It's almost 100% passive income. I mean, one of my businesses is manufacturing, and I do keep the inventory, and I do twice a week go down in the garages where I have my warehouse. I have a double 2-car garage downstairs in this condo, and I have my warehouse, and twice a week I go down there and package and ship. Everything
cool.
goes out for the week.
And the only reason I ask, I don't mean to pry, but the only reason I ask is because passive income has become this sort of kind of pervasive term, everywhere. I mean, not just in social media, but pretty much even in my marketing classes that I teach and business classes, you hear about passive income, and even some influencers say it's not so passive as you may think, but it is a cool thing. But go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, when I make more money than I did practicing law, in fact, way more money than I did practicing law, and it takes me a total of 4 hours of my time a week, I consider that pretty passive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. Awesome. It doesn't take any of my time, except maybe 3-4 hours a week. It's very easy. I've set it up to a point where it's, I could do things maybe to make it a bigger business, but, I build it with cash. So I grow slowly, but that's a whole nother story. But, I got into that, and then I've had a couple businesses that kind of came and went that I've dabbled with because I've had the point of the business, the manufacturing business I'm in, is I've got all this free time. So I try other things, and I have tried other things, and some things just haven't panned out the way I've wanted it to. I did start Divorce the Workforce in 2015, which is, I coach and help people get out of their job. That's been hit or miss. But what happened is in promoting Divorce the Workforce, I decided to get into live video and podcasting in order to promote that. And that changed everything, because no longer was I interested necessarily in coaching people on a daily basis and trying to help them get out of their day job, because that's a whole big bowl of problems. And it's very wide, and I kind of got to be the guy that's got an answer for everything. And it's not easy, and it's indefinite. Where the live video, when I got into broadcasting, podcasting and live video, I can do things like I can teach people how to build the studio. And let's say somebody wants to pay me something to teach them how to do this, then they can pay me a set amount of dollars. I can help them build it and build it for them, and then it's over. It's definite. There's an end to it. Right. Where if somebody hires me to get them out of a job and I want to charge them $1,000 a month to coach them, they might say, well, how many months is it going to take? Well, it could be 3 months. It could be 3 years. So it's indefinite, and it's a harder sell when it's indefinite, where, if somebody wants to hire me to help them set up their studio or help them get set up, podcasting, whatever. I don't have any products right now. In fact, Todd.Live is the website. For those who don't know, the .live is actually a domain. So Todd.Live is going to be a website that will be live here within the next couple of weeks. And I will start.
You've been working really hard on this website, right? I mean, we talked about this.
Yeah. I have been. You
spent a good amount of coin, I believe, correct?
It wasn't bad. I mean, I've built a lot of websites, and I've built some websites that I've put a lot of money into. And when I put $2,000 or $3,000 into a website to build just a beautiful website, I consider that a nominal fee. Interesting. Because I've got websites that I don't no longer use that I've put $20,000, $30,000 into during the life of the website.
Wow.
So I mean, I've built some sophisticated websites. I don't build them. I hire out for people to build them, but. Once the Todd.Live is going, there's going to be a lot of tutorials about the stuff that I'm using for podcasting, just generally broadcasting. So live video, recorded video, podcasting, how to get guests, how to talk to guests, how to think about, how to do, I'm going to be sharing this stuff with the world on a daily basis. And, at some point, I'll probably take on coaching clients in this realm.
Yeah.
And I might even have some products at some point where, you're paying and, you watch a video and you charge your credit card $100 and you've got these, 5 video series on how to set something up. And
I could see a book too, to be honest, Todd. I could see you writing a really intense, very valuable book on interviewing, on conversations, because, and this really, it blows me away. NEZNation, it's not like Todd, you didn't go to broadcasting school. It's not like Todd got a degree in journalism. It's not like Todd, has taken all these workshops or classes. And if you haven't listened to his podcast, and when I listen to it, like I listen to, pretty much almost all of the shows, I believe. There may be a few that I might have missed. But with each one, I have this thought in my head, NEZNation, check this out. Maybe Todd doesn't even know this. I go, there's no way this can keep rolling like this. Like, this has got to be a fluke. He can't be this good. And every time, I'm not even kidding you, every time, like, it just gets better and better and better. And I think to myself, I go, wow, this guy is like is there such a thing as a natural talent in interview? And I'm not trying to stroke. Honestly, Todd, I listen to him and I go, there's no way. He's got to fumble. He's got to, because this guy doesn't have a lot of training in this. He's got to, he's going to make some blips and some mistakes. And if you do, nobody can tell. At least I can. And I've been teaching communications, writing, rhetoric for over 20 years. I listen to these podcasts, and NEZNation, check this out. Here is a dude who doesn't have hardly any training, but he's so into it. He loves it. And we talked about this on my last show. That's why I think he's good at it. And he's been in sales. He's a lawyer. He's been in the most important skill on the planet. I try to tell my students this, Todd, is your ability to communicate. And I want to talk about that, Todd. Is this something, do you think, that was ingrained in you, or is this something that just took a lot of work? Or what do you think is this? Is there a secret sauce, or is that just mumbo jumbo?
It's probably a combination of all of the above.
Because, dude, you got to know you're good. Dude, when Ross Brand says this is the best podcast I've ever heard.
Here's the thing. I've had a lot of good interviews, and really all of them have been good. And some of them have been good in different ways than others, but
and I haven't heard a bad one yet, Todd. And believe me, I'm listening. I'm like, one of these has got to be bad.
Your interview was fabulous. When it ended, I thought, my gosh, that was, one of the best interviews I've done yet. I felt the same way when Roberto Blake was on. And I don't, when I call out names, it doesn't, and I don't call out certain people's names, it doesn't mean that their interview wasn't good. They were all good, but there were certain ones there were certain moments along my journey where I kind of felt like, boy, I really have it here. And one of them recently was Coach Jenny.
I heard that one.
That interview just flowed, and I actually can attribute a lot of the success of that podcast, as far as, I don't know that it's my most listened to. I don't mean success in that regard. I mean success in how I felt about it coming out of it. I felt like that was clearly one of my best interviews. I
listened to every second of that one, and there was not a second of awkwardness, a second of dead air.
Well, she and I had an advantage that a lot of the other people that have been on my show didn't have. Jenny and I met at Summit Live, and we hung out a lot with Ross Brand. Jenny and I, we ate meals. I think, we might have only ate one meal with Coach Jenny. I ate a lot of meals with Ross Brand, but Jenny was with us for a dinner. But there was a lot of hanging out with Coach Jenny. So I really got to know her prior to her being on my podcast. And then she knows her stuff. Her brand, with Hilda, which if you want to know who Hilda is, your inner naysayer, check out the podcast, check out, all you got to do is Google Coach Jenny. She's and Hilda, and she's going to come right up.
It's really scary because it's almost, I was listening very closely to that podcast, and everything she was saying about Hilda is almost, I don't want to say exact, but it's very resonant with my message, as far as the eternal doubter and the dude inside your head. So
yeah,
I was really keen on that show because I was listening intently. And because her thesis is very, very in accordance with what I'm trying to do and what I talk about with my classes. So it's a beautiful message.
It is, and so that interview just flowed. I mean, we had a really good time. I mean, even some of my interviews that I thought were really really good didn't quite flow like that one did. And I just was loose. Now, going back to your main question about where did I pick it up? I think probably practicing law had a lot to do with it. I mean, and not law school, but practicing law. I mean, I was doing depositions all the time. And a lot of them were very tricky. One of our clients was a school district. So, there's a lot of things that go on in public schools that never make it to the paper and never make it to public knowledge. And a lot of very odd, bizarre things. And wherever your mind can go, it probably has happened.
Yeah.
And so, I had to depose people that were, in grade school and in middle school and high school and talk about very uncomfortable things. And, I had to present them in a courtroom. And, when you have to do these things, you really have to become a good listener. And that's key in practicing law is listening, because you're listening for certain facts. And when you talk to me and you're on my show, I'm listening. And and I think a lot of it's preparation, and that's law too. When you're going to go in a courtroom and you're going to be in front of a judge, and there's going to be people out in the courtroom, and there's going to be other attorneys waiting for their turn. You've got you're making a presentation, and you're being judged by everyone in that room, and you need to go in there and look like you've got your shit together, right? Okay,
right.
So I prepare for my podcast the same way. When I have you on my show, I might study you for 2 or 3 hours, looking at your Twitter, looking at your Facebook, looking at your blog, Googling you, trying to find things that maybe fun things that like you might have forgotten about a long time ago that might be something fun to kind of throw in there and ask you about. Like, hey, you remember this? I saw this. It was awesome. I actually did that to a guy. I found this little nugget of fun from his past that he had totally forgotten about. And we started talking about it. I don't remember what exactly was, but, I prepare for these interviews. Now, that's where the listening comes in, though, because I have a little outline going, but I don't follow the outline.
Yeah.
I have some bullet points and some things I'd love to touch on, but I'm listening for things that my guests are going to bring up that can take the conversation into new directions where I'm learning something new about the person. And if I'm learning something new about the person and asking questions about this interesting little tidbit that happened maybe it's part of a tangent and they went off and it's like, hey, let's pursue that. Then we're all learning and we're all finding out something new. And maybe the audience kind of gets that I'm learning too, and it makes it more fun and interesting. But I think it's key to prepare and listen.
Listen, God, that is just gold. Yeah, listening is huge. And listening requires being here, right? Being in the moment, because like you said, and Hilda and everything you talked about with Jen Nelson, or what was her name? I forgot.
Coach Jenny.
Coach Jenny.
Her name eludes me because it's long. But if you go on,
her last name is something. Yeah, I couldn't remember that. But yeah, Coach Jenny. And if you Google Hilda and Coach Jenny, yeah, I was listening to that show, and that was just a phenomenal value. I mean, just total value.
She's just fantastic. She knocks it out of the ballpark with every breath of air. I mean, I only just met her a few weeks ago, and I just think she's one of the greatest people I've ever known.
Oh,
just like that.
That's amazing. And guys, NEZNATION, look at that. The power of networking, the power of communication, but listening. I want to focus on listening because as the mind drifts and the mind wanders and attention spans are shrinking every second. Listen to what Todd's saying. Todd is a guy who, yes, he's been around, and yes, he's, if you practice law, you have to be a good communicator and you have to be a good listener if you want to be any good. And like he said, you want to know people, you want to let people know that you got your shit together, right?
Yeah.
But here is a guy who's not a broadcaster. Here is a guy who's, hey, Steven just joined. Thank you, Steven.
Oh, cool.
Here's a guy who is not, he doesn't have a large, resume or background in this, but he's bringing skills that are universal. He's bringing skills that apply across the board, right? I mean, communications, listening, being here right now, really focusing on your guest and giving them the opportunity. I got to say, Todd, and I want to kind of get into this if you don't mind. Just because I have a personal interest in it, doing this. It's always been my dream to have a talk show. It's been my dream since I was a kid, and I joke around saying I want to be the Jay Leno of Facebook Live, but I'm really not joking. I really do want to be that. And I want to talk about your process, but it's so interesting to me because hello, Stephen, thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, hey, Stephen, how you doing?
When I listen to your show, I'm like a student. I mean, I'm serious, Todd. I'm not just listening for like the sequence of ideas and the question answer, which I am. I'm following. But one of the things I think that really differentiates Todd's show, because I hear it all, and these are people who have been doing it for years. I go, wow, he keeps cutting him off, or wow, they're not listening to each other, or wow, he already said that. I think one of the reasons why your show is gaining so much steam, and by the way, I'm going to be putting notes, Nez Nation, links
Sweet.
to all of Todd's shows and what he's doing and his domains and how you can reach him. And you have to subscribe to Divorce the Workforce. It's on iTunes, it's on Stitcher, it's all over.
Yeah.
I listen to the uncanny ability that you allow space, and I think this is interesting. You allow space. A lot of conversations seem crowded or claustrophobic, and I'd love your thoughts on this. But what you do on your show is you allow for this breath of space, and you can sense it. I mean, when the person you're interviewing, the interviewee,
Right.
the interviewee feels like they just let out this breath of this large exhale, and they just relax on your show. That's how I felt. I mean, I actually felt we went longer than we should have. I felt so embarrassed. I was like, my God, this guy's going to delete this episode because I've just been rambling, but you give so much space. Can you talk about that a little bit, Todd?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, it's my show, but it's not about me. Okay.
Love it.
I'm just having, I try to have brilliant people come on, people who inspire me, a lot of the people that were guests, I didn't know them prior to being tipped off by, I have a friend, Bree Palmer. She's all over social media.
Oh, Bree's great. She's I'm going to have her on the show, hopefully.
Yeah, she's connected me with a lot of people. Ross Brand has connected me with a lot of people. So, and then I found my own people. Actually, it's funny with podcasting. I get these emails all the time where people want to send me all these guests. And so I've always got this stream of guests, and some of them even it's kind of like they hound you. It's like, hey, have you had, every other week I get this email. Hey, have you checked out? It's like, I don't have time to check out all the people that you just sent me because I've got people that I want to interview too. But no, I give people, look, the interview is about the person that's the guest. Now I had one person that I asked them one question and they talked for, I think 24 minutes. And I think I might've,
was that me?
No, but I might've said one thing during the 24 minutes, like a little, I get it, or something little small, like I was agreeing, but this person talked for 24 minutes. But the thing was, it was a brilliant 24 minutes. Okay. And it was about this person and their journey to get from point A to point B. It was relevant. And I want my guests to feel like they can come on and tell their story, that I don't have an agenda. There's certain things I would love to cover, but if I don't cover them, oh, well, I'll have them come back another time. And I haven't had a repeat guest yet. But at some point I will have people back and I'll say, we did that great podcast a long time ago, but there were a few things I kind of wanted to, we didn't talk about. And actually that probably won't happen because I tend to delete my notes because I don't want to keep, it's just, I'm interviewing too many people. It's too many notes,
yeah.
But I guess I could go back and listen to the episode and take some new notes and think about it. But, it's about the guest. It's not about me. Right. And, I try to bring out the best in my guests and fortunately all of my guests are bringing out the best in themselves. I don't have to do a lot of work with anybody I've had on there. But like you said, I give them space. I guide it maybe with a question here or there. And I listen for the opportunity to present some new questions and take the interview in places that both of us didn't expect it would go. And it ends up being something fun. I think the shortest interview was 39 minutes. And the longest interview was an hour and 20 or something like that. And my target is 30 to 45 minutes, but I'm not going to cut anybody off. If they're having fun and they've got a good story to tell, then people who are truly interested are going to stick it out and listen to the whole episode. And people who aren't, maybe that wasn't a right fit to begin with, but people take their valuable time out of their day to be on my show.
Yeah.
And talk about their life and their entrepreneurship or their journey, then that's exactly what they're going to get. They're going to get to connect with my audience in that fashion. And, I'm just facilitating it. And
it's so interesting that you say that because I with this show, I love your process and I tell guests all the time. They always ask, how long is the show or how long do you need? I'm sure you get this too. And I always say, well, typically they've been going an hour, but we could do 30 minutes or we could do, it's very, very loose, my show. I love to just nurture the conversation. And as Ross Brand said so eloquently on my show a few episodes back, he said the conversation will aid in, the evolution of the questions. So the
Right.
questions sprout from the conversation itself, and that's how conversations really breed life and breed value. And you know what ends up happening, Todd? And I wonder if you could comment on this too. Is they'll say my time is short, or they'll say like oh my gosh, an hour, that's a long time. And literally we'll get to the 58-minute mark and I'll mention something and they'll go, what? It feels like we've been on for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I always feel, literally with every guest, and I know I'm going to feel the same way with you too, Todd, with every guest that I've had on, and by the way, you're our 10th guest. This is our 10th episode. We launched 2 weeks ago, and then we've already done 10 episodes, so I am just loving this. I always say I want to have you on again because we barely scratched the surface. We just barely and some people have been criticizing, and I accept criticism. I love criticism because I want to get better. And people have been saying you need a little bit more structure, you need a little bit more organization. And I go, yeah, maybe you're right. I'm still experimenting. I'm still working on this. But do you find that too, Todd, where you go like, gosh, we didn't even have a chance to talk about anything that we were going to talk about, really? Or
I think that the podcasting, well, so far I haven't really. Look, if we don't talk about something, we don't talk about something. I don't feel like I have to cover. I'm not so. I have my outline, but I'm not stuck to it, and I'm not beholden to it, and I don't feel like the audience got gypped, and I don't feel like the guests got gypped. What happens, and that's
Right.
the fun of it, right?
Right.
We all have schedules, and we all have a limited amount of time, and the nice thing is you can always have people back,
Yeah.
and if they had a good time, they're probably going to be willing to come back, and I would love to have. Yeah, I would love to have a situation where I have recurring guests where, like every other week I'm talking to you or to Ross Brand or to Roberto or whoever. It would be nice to have a shtick where I've got somebody who I've really bonded with and we do something like that. But, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, that's the beautiful thing about it is broadcasting is broadcasting, and we're doing it. We're not NBC or CBS or Fox News or whatever. So we don't have this rigid way we have to do it. And with the advertisers, and there's all these expectations with all these people in that industry. You do a show at 10 o'clock if you want to do a show. If your and I's schedule doesn't jive, then you move it to 11 or maybe it's 11:15 or maybe I don't know if it was you or Ross Brand, where I think it was Ross Brand, where he had Amy Schmidt-Auer on there, and they had connection issues, so they did a 2-part series or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually saw that.
You just roll with it, and
with
you know what? Yeah, and with some of the bigger names, Ross was fortunate. I'm not sure the whole story with the one with Ross, if they had to record it in 2 parts or if it just got broken into 2 parts. But presuming that they had to record it in 2 parts. Amy's a very busy person. She's got a book, and she's always going to these shows, and she's got her business and everything.
She's been in the YouTube game for over 10 years.
Yeah, so some people in her position might not be available for a second interview, and some people will be. And you know what? You just roll with it and do the best you can.
Right. And I love that. I love that attitude. And I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, which is maybe how we can segue into, because I definitely want to talk about live. And by the way, Nez Nation, this podcast, Divorce the Workforce, go watch every episode. Go subscribe. Go leave a review. It's insane. I'm going to leave notes.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave notes. I'm going to both repurpose this on YouTube as well, Todd. So we're going to get this out there. Maybe this would be a nice segue into live video, because I think a lot of people who, and I talked with this about my last guest, is this not for everybody, but people who are thinking about doing it, and the trepidation, and there's a lot of how-tos on YouTube, how to be more comfortable on camera and all that. And I try to tell my students, and I wonder how you think of it as well, what your thoughts are, that you got to understand, and you said it best, you said the expectations of live video in a social media context, they're not the same as you may, think other more sophisticated, more, traditional broadcasts are. And actually, the biggest criteria, I think, is you just got to be authentic. You got to be real.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are stifled by that. And I love live video. I know you love live video.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about, Todd, your journey into live. And then I bought a .live domain. I haven't done anything with it yet because I've been so busy, but I bought a .live domain, and I
Professor Nez.Live?
Professor Nez.Live, and I also bought NEZNATION.live.
Oh, good.
I think I even bought PeterNez.Live just to like use because I listened to your show. Todd, by the way, Nez Nation, Todd had a podcast with I want to say Mark Gowith. Was it Mark Gowith?
Mark, go with.
Sorry, go with.
Yep.
And I was mesmerized. I almost got into a car accident actually listening to that show because I mean, it's so sad and pathetic. I was listening so intently because you guys were talking about the benefits of a .live and then you went into all these other domains that I was just like blown away. Like I thought .com and .net and .edu, that was pretty much it. And I never really knew the value of these domains. So talk a little bit about what you plan on doing with .live and then also talk about, where you think live video is going to relate to that and how that branding and messaging is going to work.
Well, I bought Todd.Live. Okay. I bought Todd.Live however long
expensive.
ago. Well, it was, it's a yearly, just like any domain is a recurring fee, but we're with GoDaddy or whoever you're buying it from. It's like $15 a year. Maybe it's $21 a year. If you buy
how much mine was, Todd?
Probably $15 a year.
Actually, you know what? Todd told me. Actually, we were talking maybe at lunch or on the phone. I can't remember, just through messaging. And Todd told me, dude, if you don't buy ProfessorNez.Live, if you don't buy NEZNATION.Live or something like that, you're missing out because that domain is not going to go for a lot. And as a matter of fact, it was $13.
Yeah. Well, they
Todd.Live is different.
Yeah, they set aside certain premium domains, right? And they charge because they want to make money. I mean, they figure why let these bigger companies there's multi-million dollar, even billion dollar. I don't know if billion might be stretched, but that deal in domains. I mean, there's guys that have made fortune.
They flip them, right?
Yeah, they flip them. And so they have deep pockets. So let's say when .live goes live and they open it up and now everyone can buy all the .lives. They don't want some guy with deep pockets in the Bahamas, which I think is where this guy, one of the guys that I have read about he's down in the Caribbean somewhere, but they don't want him to come in and buy Mike.Live, Todd.Live, Joe.Live, every name that you can think of .live at $13 a year. And then all of a sudden turn them around and sell them for $500. So the company right side, they've decided that they are going to enjoy the benefit of the speculation and of the certain domains that they know are going to be of great value to people and ask what it might seem not reasonable to a lot of us. Like I pay $150 a year to own Todd.Live when that's 10 times what I would pay to own Todd.com if I had bought it way back then. But you know what? Todd.com will never be available to me at a reasonable price, but Todd.Live is available to me at a fairly reasonable price. The story goes a little further, though, because there can only be one Todd.Live on the planet if I'm going to go full force into building this as a brand. And a side note, people are now calling me Todd.Live. There's people that may even know me not as Todd Bergen, but as Todd.Live, which is kind of cool.
I think that's so awesome. I put Todd.Live, and I'm going to add the dot, but I put Todd.Live, excuse me, on the promo card. And I'm going to put that on the thumbnail.
A few people introduced me as Todd.Live among people at Social Media Marketing World, or not Summit Live. Even though they knew me as Todd Bergen, they're like, yeah, here's Todd.Live. It's like, okay, if people actually are going to call me that, that's awesome. But anyway, there can only be one Todd.Live if I'm going to get behind the brand. But there's two ways of spelling Todd. Commonly, TOD and TODD. So I had bought TODD, and I had checked to see if TOD was available, and it was for $300 a year.
Oh, no.
Okay. And I don't even want to use TOD.Live because I'm not TOD, but somebody out there, and TOD is a more popular way of spelling Todd in Europe and in Latin and Central America and pretty much everywhere on the planet except for the United States is TOD instead of TODD. So I thought about it for 2 or 3 months and it drove me nuts. And one day I was driving home and I started thinking about it again. And I thought, my God, I bet someone has bought that and I'm going to be pissed for the rest of my life that I didn't get it.
So
and there will be 2 Todd.Lives out there, right? So I got home, I raced home. I probably got in a car accident almost, I probably ran a red light or two, like turned left on the arrow when no cars were coming. You just had to get home as fast as I could. And I got TOD.Live so that's going to cost me $300 a year to maintain that. And Mark and I got into a big conversation about that. Now he didn't buy Mark. He bought MARC.Live, but he didn't buy MARK. I asked him about that, but he chose not to buy it. But so there can be 2 Mark.Lives out there, but I just couldn't live with, there being 2 Todd.Lives, particularly what if somebody out there decides they want to do the same thing I'm doing under TOD.Live, and maybe I build this business up into something and then somebody poaches it.
So smart. And you can always relinquish the domain after, it's not like you're chained to it for life. It's not a lifetime contract.
You know what? It's worth it to me.
It's worth
peace of mind, $300 a year, peace of mind. It's a write-off. I mean, the federal government will help subsidize it to some degree. So, it is what it is. It's cost of doing business. Coca-Cola protects their brand in all sorts of ways that you don't see. Pepsi, all these companies, they protect their brands in ways that you don't see, and they have to spend good money to do that, so that they don't have knockoffs and things going on. So, it's just a cost of doing business, and I'm fine with that. But yes, I think that having your .live, particularly if you're, there's probably still a lot of good, like if your name is Sebastian, it might be there. Sebastian.live, or, there's going to be a lot of the .lives available. And think about it. You try to get a good .com anymore. They don't exist. It's very difficult, and it's got to have 5 words in it or dashes, and all that's nonsense. You can go over here.
I like what you said on the podcast. Yeah. You said it's not as exciting. I mean, .live just has such a nice ring to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, they have .ninja, and we were talking.
Great.
Yeah, .ninja, and so
I just feel like that word's going to be abused, so I didn't even think about .ninja. But yeah.
Well, after
it's
our
like hustle, I feel like hustle. We've talked about this. I feel like hustle has been so
it's
watered
terrible
down and diluted by its punch,
Yeah. Well, you got to coin a new phrase, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk uses hustle all the time, but he also has, jab, right hook or whatever. So, you got to think of, different ways to say different things, but no, the .live.
Well, what about Todd.Live's, the values in the hallway? I love that.
Oh yeah. Well,
I think that should be a t-shirt. Honestly, I think that could be a bumper sticker. The values in the hallway.
I'm using that phrase actually quite a bit.
You should. You should,
because and NEZNATION folks, I did come up with that after Summit Live, because the whole value of Summit Live to me was in the hallway. It was meeting and shaking hands and hanging out with people in the hallway. So that's where my value was at Summit Live. And I imagine if I was at Social Media Marketing World, as much as I would enjoy the conferences, my value would be again in the hallway. That's where the value is at these shows.
Yeah.
And I would think that rings true at all of them.
I can't imagine it would be different than anywhere else.
But I went after I did the Mark Gwith interview, I did go try to buy livevideo.ninja.
Did you really?
But it was taken. Somebody got it.
Peter.Live was taken. I tried to see if I could buy Peter.Live too, but it was already taken. And then I think PeterNez.Live was actually.
Yeah, nobody's going to get that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you got it cheap. I mean, I have ToddBergen.live. I have DivorceTheWorkforce.live. I'll probably never use them. I'll just redirect them. Like if you type ToddBergen.live, it'll redirect to Todd.Live. That's what'll happen.
Perfect. Okay, so I wanted to ask you just one more quick question about live, and then I want to talk about social media marketing world, and I want to talk about conferences in general. We're actually right now, check it out, Todd. We're at the 48-minute. We're at 50 minutes. Does it feel like it's been 50 minutes?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it never does. It feels like, I feel like I can talk to my guests for 7 hours. I mean, I really do.
Oh, I could easily. The only reason why I'm paying attention to the clock is I've got a 12 o'clock appointment.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But that's otherwise I would even be concerned about the time. We'd talk until you were ready to end it.
Oh, no. Absolutely. And I totally respect that. And just a few more things I think we should talk about.
Yeah, we've got time.
Awesome.
We have time. Absolutely.
Let me ask you. So what does Todd.Live? Okay, we know that live video is hot. We know that the domain is hot. We know that this is a very, very pervasive way of getting your message out there. It's dominating news feeds all over social media. It's dominating pretty much every other arena of business, marketing, digital storytelling, what have you. Where does Todd.Live see? How does Todd.Live want to implement live video, and what is really the end result? Besides you doing amazing stuff, let's talk a little bit about monetization. Where do you see that happening?
Well,
because I know a lot of NEZNATION listeners, they're interested in not only communicating and not only mindsets and not only value, but there's also, what about the results, right? People want to learn how to monetize these things.
Yeah. I think that's an adventure that I still have to figure out. I mean, I see what other people do. Like, okay, we mentioned Cliff earlier, Cliff Ravenscraft, Podcast Answer Man. He can teach you how to do your podcast. Well, and he taught me how to do my podcast. That doesn't mean that I can't teach people how to do podcasting. So I could do that. I could do, I've set up my, and aside from taking his class, everything I've learned in podcasting, I've learned on my own. I took his class not for the format, how I was going to go about it as an individual, I took his class to set up the sound equipment to get the sound right and to have the mix minus that we talked about earlier, and have it to where at least, because you can't control the sound that your guest has. A lot of people do their podcast interview on a cell phone
Right.
with the Apple headset. So the sound is going to be that. But I can control it for me, and I can control certain things of what's coming in from them, but not everything. But I can teach that based off my experience. I can teach. I've built my own live video studio, and I've gone through phases where it was just just iPads and a mixer, and I've got I bought, even last year, I think I bought 7 iPads last year to put all this together, live video and the podcast. So I had 2 separate studios. Now I have one. It's not entirely separate anymore. And that's more than we have time for. But, I've gone through these phases in this evolution. And there's things that I've learned that have very good value for people who want to set up something that's worth a shit. They don't want to use their camera on I detest the idea of using a camera that's built into one of my desktop or my laptop. I'm not opposed to like a webcam, but I don't really use webcams. I have an HD camcorder. I have a DSLR. I've got a Canon Mark III, whatever. I've got a $3,000. I've got a beautiful camera, which I haven't even tried to use that for video to see what kind of picture I get out of that. That might even be better. Yeah, that might even be better than this is a camcorder that I'm using that's HD and everything. Great. But I bet my DSLR will be even better if I decide I want to go that route. But, if people want to step it up a degree and they want to have the great sound and they want to have the great video, I'll have to go and watch this on replay and just see how good and how happy I am with what's coming through today, because I haven't had an opportunity to do this yet and see what my latest breakthrough last week has given me. But, if I want to have people on the show, I want to record my, instead of doing podcasting strictly for podcasting, I want to do a live show where it's recorded for podcasts. So I'm kind of getting it all in at once, and I can take it to the various places. And we're all mindful that, this is content that's going to be in video and in podcasting. And people that want to do this stuff, if they need help setting it up, my time has a value, right? You can hire me and I can help you set it up. If you want to do it yourself and you want to tap me for a question or two, no sweat. But if you're going to tap me for a bunch of questions, I probably say, hey, look you might want to get me for a few hours and we'll knock it out. I could create products. I could create, write a book. I've written books. I've written 5 books already in my life. I wrote 5 books on gun laws. Oh,
fantastic. I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah. The California one. The California one's thicker than a cinder block. It's insane. Okay. And it's got like 4,000 footnotes citing all the laws that I'm referring to, but it was a work of art, but I don't do it anymore. They changed the penal code. So all my footnotes went out the door.
Oh, no.
They renumbered the penal code, and I was like, I'm never doing that again once they renumbered the penal code. But so I've done things. I've sold informational products. I made a lot of money on eBay selling a little travel guide to this little desert firing range that people travel all over the world to go to learn how to shoot a gun. I created a little travel guide that was basically just a printout on paper and sold it on eBay for $30 a pop and sold them all day long. So I've done these things, so I know how to do them. Doesn't mean I'm a pro. It doesn't mean I can't learn more. But, one thing I do is I teach while I learn. And when you teach while you learn, you're helping other people for free. You're learning it. You're building credibility. You're building an audience. You're building friendships and relationships. And those people that have learned what along with me during my journey and maybe have gotten it for free might refer someone later. Hey, this is the guy you need. Or, so I'm not really, I am worried about monetization, but it doesn't consume me. I just need to get my website down. I need to start doing my live videos more often, getting the podcast going more often, and all that stuff will come. The questions will come and people will say, hey, I need this or I need that. Maybe that's going to be a product. Maybe I help that guy out, so I learn how to help that guy out, and then I turn it into a product for the next guy.
Hasn't that been the case? And Todd, by the way, I was listening so intently. Everything you just said there was just NEZNATION. I hope to God you were listening very intently there, because that's just some seriously valuable information. I think that it's always been this way in my life. I met Todd through happenstance. I think every relationship, my wife, randomly met her, 10 years ago, just happenstance, meetings, happenstance, almost by accident. just by putting myself out there, just by doing what I love to do, just by being me. You know, you hear Brian Fanzo talk about be yourself, be yourself. Um, I I want you to comment on what I think, Todd, because everything you just said there really is just awesome. And this is what I think. I think exactly what Todd said. I'm not worried about monetization. I'm not worried about turning this into a thing. I just want to do the best I can, and I just want to have fun, and I enjoy the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But I also believe that if you're good at something, the more quality that you jam pack into whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a broadcast or anything else, right? You want to be a doctor, a soccer player, it doesn't matter. You will attract attention. The better you are, and I love what Todd said, I think you just concentrate on doing dope shit, and they will come. You make noise. Don't worry about because it's funny, Todd. I used to early on in this sort of journey, this sort of social media journey, live broadcast journey. I think I was trying a little too hard to show my stuff to everybody. I was trying a little too hard to get other people in the space, so-called influencers in the space's attention. And as soon as I stopped doing that, I just kind of said to myself, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? You're almost trying a little bit too hard, you know. And this is something I tell my students, not to try too hard, right? As soon as I just relinquished that and just not worried about that, and again, this has to do with this dude, right? I found that, you know, I was breathing a lot easier. I was doing my thing a lot smoother. The quality just skyrocketed. And then all of a sudden people started contacting me. They said, you know, we're paying attention. I mean, Todd did the very same thing. Todd's like, gosh, I see you everywhere. I can't miss you. You know, it's impossible to miss you.
And I don't even feel like I'm out there.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I'm really hitting, you know, hard yet. You know, so that's a compliment. I appreciate that. Now, you know, look, you hear the thought leaders say it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you need to focus on you. And look, there's people that I love to consume their content. Gary Vaynerchuk, Joel Comm, Carlos Gill, okay, to name a few right off the top of my head. Love what these guys do. Big guy, you know, Brian Fanzo, whatever. But are they going to be consumers of what I'm doing? Not necessarily. They're busy doing their thing. Okay. So I don't get wrapped up in trying to get in front of them necessarily. I mean, I would love it if, you know, any one of those four that I just mentioned would say, hey, come be on my podcast, or, hey, I want to have you on my live video show, or whatever. That'd be an honor. And maybe that'll come someday. I'm not really worried about it. But you know, that'd be awesome. But I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about doing my thing.
Well said.
I'm worried about, doing my thing. And I look to them for guidance. Like if I go consume Joel Comm content, I'm looking for ideas on things that I might do down the road. So like if Joel does some really cool video, I might take notes of a video, and then I might do it in 6 months when that video is forgotten about. So it doesn't look like I just saw his video and went and did it. Or Gary Vaynerchuk, like if I see something really awesome that he did, like I love his Instagram videos with the text, and he pretty much does that every day. And so if you do those, it's, you know, Gary gets the credit. That's where I saw it first, and I love it where you've got the you know, the video clips all spliced together, and you've got the subtitles. But
yeah.
You know, you've got to see what other people are doing in order to give you ideas, but then you got to turn all that off and just do your thing. Yeah. Just do your thing, you know, do it the best you can, do what you enjoy. Somebody out there is going to enjoy it too. It might not be who you dreamt of when you first got started. You got a picture of who it is in your head, but it might be someone else. I mean, you come up with an idea of who you're talking to. Like I think of myself as talking to Gen Xers who are fed up with their job, who are entrepreneurs who are looking at new ways of making their business pop with live video or podcasting or whatever. I know podcasting has been around a long time. Certainly didn't discover it. It's been around for a long time, but it is something that's popping right now.
It's really hot. Podcasts are huge right now.
Yeah, and it isn't going to go away because everybody's got a mobile device in their hand and they can download fun stuff and listen to it wherever they are, right?
Well, Joe Rogan, I'm sure you know Joe Rogan, his show.
Yeah.
This dude is like, I mean, I've loved Joe Rogan ever since he was a comedian. Not so much on his Fear Factor hosting, but I think that he said it best. He said that he said on his show, I think it was with Gary actually, he said, I have no idea why radio's even still around. He said, to me, radio's dead. He said, podcasting is just dominating. He said
Yeah.
podcasting is so convenient. You can download it anywhere. You can pause it. You can go get a hamburger, go to the refrigerator, unpause it. You can stream it. You can download it on your TV. You can, you know what I mean, your computer, your laptop. There's no commercials. So I mean, I think I've learned so much. I know that you listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to Todd's podcast, and Nez Nation, how unbelievably badass is that name? Divorce the Workforce.
Oh, I love
I mean,
it.
you've got the rhyming, you've got the rhythm, but also the context and the implication. Divorce the Workforce. It's just beautiful.
Right.
And also, just like divorces go, and if I may, Todd, I mean, divorces are not easy, and a lot of people are very reticent to leave their job. So Divorce the Workforce has so many, I mean, here's my literature professor mind coming out. It's got all these multi-layer meanings, which just makes it more complex, I think. But let me just get this in, Todd, because I love what you're saying. I think that, you know, with podcasting and with its ease of accessibility, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, I'd love your thoughts. You're seeing the same thing with live video, and we both love live. You're seeing the same thing with live video and cable TV. I don't know about you, Todd, but I would rather watch a Casey Neistat video. I would rather watch a Nick Nimmin video. I would rather listen to a Todd.Live podcast than, I mean, honestly, Todd, literally watch anything on TV anymore or cable. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, you know, television can take things to another level that, you know, and they, you know, like if you're into zombies and you like The Walking Dead, okay, you're not going to get that out of live video.
Netflix is streaming, right? Isn't Netflix streaming? Well, The Walking Dead's
Well,
on what, Showtime?
A&E, AMC.
I don't even watch
AMC.
I don't watch that zombie shit.
Yeah, but like if you want that kind of content, you're just not going to find it in podcasting live video unless like.
But you might. It's not to say you might not.
well, here's what you'll find. Okay, when I took Cliff Ravenscraft's class, he talked about the power of podcasting, and he got started in podcasting by creating podcasts that basically discuss shows that he and his wife enjoyed watching, and one of those shows was Lost. And he started podcasting about Lost. Once a week, he would do a podcast the day after Lost aired, and he would talk about things that were going on in Lost. And he might have, I don't know if he ever had guests on, but he would talk about Lost. And so, you know, that started when Lost first came out. It was an instant hit. He started doing the podcast. And I think this is brilliant. I've thought about doing it myself. If I can get into it, I don't watch a lot of TV, but if I could pick a show and just stick with it, then maybe do a podcast about that show and see what happens. But so anyway, the Lost, I don't know however many seasons it aired. Let's say it aired 7 seasons. I never watched one episode. So people out there, if your head's spinning now, I never saw an episode of Lost. But
there's a revolt. I can see it in all the comments.
So he did this podcast, and it became this beloved podcast by Lost fans. So when the last episode aired, he decided to throw a party in northern Kentucky, right outside of Cincinnati, to celebrate the last episode of Lost, and anybody who wanted to come would come and join him for the pizza party. And he had people coming from like Norway and all over the United States and all over the world. I think he said the strangest place was like some little town somewhere in Norway where it's like snow all year long, or some ridiculous far out place. He had someone come all the way to northern Kentucky for the Lost party. Wow. That's the power of his podcast. He got out there. People all over the world found it. Now imagine, and you may already be able to do this, and maybe I'm just not tech savvy enough to realize it exists, but you know, we have an Alexa in our kitchen that we turn on all the time. We say, hey, Alexa, you know, play some disco, or hey, Alexa, play some rock and roll, or hey, Alexa, classic rock. What if hey, Alexa, play Todd.com podcast? You know, is that even possible? I don't even know, but think about it. If that becomes,
I would think that'd be possible.
You know, and what about on your TV becomes like an Alexa, and hey, turn on Casey Neistat, you know, .live or Casey.live.
I think that's inevitable. I think smart, even Gary talked about this. I think smart everything is going to take over, like having a smart, you know, belt, you know, that tells you to watch your weight. You know, it's going to be insane, I think.
Yeah, and when you pair that with social media where people get to like and share and comment, so if you've got your channels, whatever they are, podcasting, YouTube, whatever you're doing, you know, you're going to connect with people out there who are going to talk. And you know what? It might take a few years, but you might go from, you know, 10 or 12 people to 10 or 12,000 in a relatively short period of time. You know, I didn't grow up with anything like that.
No.
And so
I truly believe this is the greatest era. I tell my students all the time. I mean, Todd's married. Todd has kids. I'm married. Yeah. I have kids. Got a mortgage. I'm teaching 10 classes a semester. I'm busting my ass because, as Todd knows, living in Southern California is not light on the wallet.
Right.
Just the property taxes alone is insane. I tell my students all the time, Todd, I go, if I was 22, 23, 26 right now with no strings, with very little, obligation, oh my God. I mean, I would take this full-fledged.
Well, you know what? And not to get into a whole new topic, but I know you're a college professor, and we've talked about this, I think, during my podcast, but I'm very anti-college. You can put,
I don't blame you.
On your table. There are so many more better ways to put food on your table and provide for a family than going to college, putting your name on a resume and putting it in a stack with 5,000 other people who want the same job, who have the same resume and the same degree and the same college and all that bullshit. You can go and get some equipment. You can start using your time. You got a point in your life when going back to what you said in your 20s. If I were in my 20s, I wouldn't waste my time. And I love that I'm highly educated. I love it because I use it, but I also grew up in a time where there weren't these other options.
There was no options.
No, that's what everyone did. But now, I mean, with the power of the internet and all this equipment, and everybody's got a phone. I mean, what happens when you got tribal guys in Africa that start having phones? I mean, it's going to happen. They're going to run around in there
already.
Yeah, I mean, really, I know they got a Coke bottle because I saw it in whatever that movie was.
The gods must be crazy.
So they got a Coke bottle, right? So they got.
My students are like, "What the hell is that?" Like, if my students are watching, and by the way, Nez Nation students of mine, listen to what Todd's saying. Keep going, Todd.
Yeah, I saw that movie in a sociology class in college.
Did you really?
I think it was. Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
But for the first time, maybe it was even in high school. We might have had to watch it in a film class. I don't remember. But
you're kidding.
The thing is everybody's got a device, right? So. Yeah. You can get your message out. Let's say you want to be a t-shirt vendor. I mean, you can get your message out in so many ways. If that's what you want to do, if you want to have a cooking channel. I mean, our friend, her name eludes me right at the top of my head, but in Colorado, who's up for Periscoper of the Year. God, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. I'm talking too fast, but she started cooking in her kitchen and she's teaching people how to cook. She beat cancer. So she's teaching people how to cook foods that make your body inhospitable to cancer. Wow. That's a very narrow market of people, but she's doing it. And she's got this wildly successful Periscope channel. She's up for Periscoper of the Year in New York City. I don't know if that's come to pass or not. She's got channels like, television channels that actually have taken note, and they're like, boy, this woman's really got her shit going on. Maybe we need to talk to her about doing something with her. I mean, her life is exploding before her very eyes into all these positive, awesome things. And it's because of Periscope. Okay. She didn't go to college. You don't have to go to college to do Periscope, but you don't have to go to law school. You don't have to do that stuff anymore. You don't have to. You're just wasting time at a point in your life. Like you said, when you're in your 20s, just to go back to my point, you're in your 20s. Presumably you don't have a car payment. A lot of people have their parents are paying for their cars, or maybe their car's paid off. They've had 4 years to pay it off. So presumably you don't have a car payment. You don't have a mortgage. Presumably you don't have a spouse. Presumably you don't have children. Most people are going to be without these things. You've got all the time in the world, it seems like, and you're going to go and waste it away at college. And they make you take this cross-cultural crap that doesn't mean shit to putting food on the table.
Right.
They make you take languages. I had to take German. I took German because I wanted to challenge myself. Everybody was taking French and Spanish. Did I need to learn German? All I remember are the cuss words. That's all I remember. I might be able to.
But Todd, even the business marketing classes, I teach business writing. They're not scaling to the real world either.
No, and
the whole reason that I created this, the whole reason that I wanted to do this, Todd, I told Todd this on my podcast, the whole reason that I got into broadcasting, and, those of you that don't know, I do have courses that I'm creating, and I am trying to monetize my experience. I'm trying to get my message out there because I was sick and tired, Todd, of all my students saying, well, Professor Nez, I've got $150,000 in debt, but I can't find a job.
That's exactly right. And that's the other thing. When you come out of high school, you don't have debt. I mean, you don't have, I said mortgage and car payment, no spouse, no kids, but you also just don't have student debt. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you don't have when you come out of college, but you don't have all this equipment. But look, if I spent $10,000 on all this equipment, that seems like a lot. I don't know what I spent. I have to calculate it, but let's presume I spent 10,000. Let's presume I spent $20,000 on all this. Okay. And I put it all on my credit card. Well, that's a lot more controllable than $20,000 a year, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to go to college, all the books, all the rent, all that stuff while you're not earning money, all through those years where you don't have
the classes that don't scale.
Yeah. And so when you finally get a degree that's worth a shit, that where you can be all happy to get a $60,000, $70,000 a year job, which sucks anyway, that amount of money. I mean, you go to college.
You can't afford. Yeah.
Yeah. You go to college for 8 years and you rack up $70,000 in debt every year for 8 years. So you got $500,000 in debt, let's presume. And you're going to be all happy to get a $70,000 a year job. That's just stupid. Okay. Go out, get yourself a credit card. I don't do this literally, but I mean, find a way. Go out and find a way to get $20,000, get yourself a nice studio going and come up with your shtick.
Right.
What's your message going to be? Are you into drones? Are you into NES games? Are you vintage NES games? Are you there's all sorts of people that make
whatever
tons
it is you're into.
Yeah, whatever it is you're into.
Right.
I mean, it could be smoking dope. There's people out there making money smoking dope right now.
The cannabis industry is going to be big, man.
It's going to be big. So if that's your thing, smoking dope, why not find a way to monetize it instead of just sitting around just, hey, man, boy, that's really awesome. Why not find a way to make money so in your spare time you can enjoy that buzz, but you're making lots of money? Find a way, use video, use social, use podcasting, get your message out there, start growing, massage your friendships with the people that reach out to you,
right.
Nurture them. I've had a lot of people on Snapchat who I don't know personally that friend me on Facebook, and I've accepted those friendships because we've communicated a bunch back and forth. Nurture the friendships. It'll come back in dividends. And over years, look, I promise you, if you do what I'm saying, in the time it takes you to get a 4-year college degree, you're going to have something massive and awesome in 4 years. Even if you just start with a phone, you don't have to spend $20,000 on all the shit. Just start with a phone. That's all you got to start with.
Beautiful. And
see where your message is going and start with the phone.
And it's not like you and correct me if I'm wrong, Todd. I would say you can afford to fail. You can always go back to school. You see people go back to school in their 30s and their 40s if you wanted to.
Here's the thing.
You can afford to fail. You have to be patient, right? I was talking to Nick in my last show. He's a YouTuber. He's got over 22,000 subscribers, which is just insane. He's only been doing it for 2 years. But he said once you get over that hump, and it was tough for me even. Once you get over that hump of, my God, shit isn't happening, nothing's doing, it's not growing, I'm not getting subscribers, it's not resonating. Once you fight through that and keep working and have realistic expectations, right?
Right.
Shit will happen. It just takes time, I mean, you hear Gary talk about patience all the time. I've been telling that to my students for 20 years, right? I mean, not to defame anything or devalue what he's saying, but I mean, you have to understand that it's not going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. What was the thing you said?
Well, that's the thing. Well, you say you got to be willing to fail or whatever. But here's the thing. You go to school, you go to grade school, middle school, high school, college. Okay. It's terrifying, the thought of failing. I went to law school. Believe me, the thought of failing was on my head every day for 2.5 years. It took me to do law school. So you've got this massive fear of failure that's built up all your life. I was in my early 30s when I think I was 31 when I graduated from law school. So I had 31 years of trying not to fail. I had been an entrepreneur, and that's a whole nother story, but I actually knew that it was okay to fail. But a lot of people don't know that it's okay to fail because of the way the educational system raises them to think that way. And it makes it hard for you to reach out and do something where you might fail. But the life of an entrepreneur is full of failure. In fact, I would argue that the life of somebody who goes to college is full of fail because Absolutely. I would argue that, if you let's say you go to college, okay, and you get a great degree and you get an advanced degree and then you go get in your career. And by the time you're 45, you're not the money that you're making might be good as opposed to somebody in their 20s, but it's not good. I mean, you just don't raise with the rate of inflation the way you should. So you're unhappy it's hard to be happy with your job when you're not making ends meet as you need to be. Every month is a stretch. You don't have any other skills because you've spent 20 years on that degree and all the work to get to where you're at today. And now you're looking at, oh my God, what am I going to do? That could be considered a fail. And almost everyone gets to that point that goes to the college degree. So the life of an entrepreneur, I mean, I've had probably like 7 or 8 businesses just since 2009. Only one of them is still full force today. And some of them I've put big money and time into, and they're gone. Oh, well. And some of them, when I wrote the gun law books, that was going to be a business. And people, when I got to a point where I was shutting that business down, I started throwing my inventory in the garbage can every week in the recycle bin. And people were looking at me in horror, like, all that work and you're throwing it in the recycle bin. I said, I can't even, I can't drop an F-bomb, but I'm just so glad.
Sure you can.
Well, I mean, I was just so fucking glad to get these books out of my hair and gone. I wanted that business I knew was something I wasn't going to continue with. I wanted it out of my hair. I wanted to pivot and go. And you've got to be able to do that as an entrepreneur. You can't get hung up on things. I've let things that I've put a lot of time and hard work and money into, and on a dime, I've let it go because it's not working the way I wanted it to work or the way it should work. Or there's problems that weren't foreseen when I got into it that have found their way in. You know, all these entrepreneurs, they tell you that, you know, do the beta testing and do this and do that and you can do all that to some degree, but it's not foolproof. Right. And you've got to be willing as an entrepreneur. You've just got to be willing as an inhabitant of Earth, and you're breathing air still. And it's okay. It's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay. No one's going to gawk at you. And, you know, there might be people out there that, you know, like they look at me throwing my books away. Oh, you know, well, I don't give a rat's ass what these people think. Right. I mean, they might be good, close friends of mine. They might even be family. But in the end, I'm the one that has to be happy on a daily basis. So why am I going to sweat what my mom or what somebody thinks about it? I've got to move on and try again.
Yeah.
You got to do that too.
And that's beautiful. Wow. I mean, bravo, Todd. That's a beautiful message. And I think that I don't think you hear a lot of professors talking about this in classes. I never talked about this in my class. My professors never told me it was okay to fail. And this is coming from a college professor. This is coming from a university professor, and somebody like Todd, who's been in the private sector pretty much his whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that getting a degree is completely valueless. However, I think that you put what happens is the students put too much value in the wrong place. It's misplaced value. So what my point is that they think grades are everything, which grades don't mean shit in the real world. They think that GPA is everything, which GPA doesn't really mean shit in the real world. Okay, it helps, don't get me wrong, but it's not everything. What really matters is, are you having transferable learning? What does that mean? Learning that busts out of that box called the classroom. So I agree with Todd, and this is the whole reason why I'm doing this, because my message is, my whole academy, I have an academy. I have my own website called Beyond the Box Academy.
Nice.
We have to get out of the box of that classroom. Your piece of paper is meaningless unless there's something real to back it up.
Well, and to go back, and I don't think college is a total waste of time. I think college is a total waste of time if your reason for going to college is because
the intention. It's the intention.
Yeah,
the expectation.
What's your intent? If your intent is you're going to college because you need to get a job, stupid reason to go to college anymore.
Right.
I think.
Right.
If you want to go to college to experience the world, take some time off, maybe build a network of people, maybe to experience what college is like. You know, like my daughter, she's got straight A's. So if she gets if she got a full scholarship ride, I would tell her, you know, here's what I would do. I would go see if they'll give you the scholarship as a part-time student, so that you can work your business on the side, and that way you get the best of both. I don't really see it as a belt and suspenders approach, because I don't see college really as necessary. And it's not like she's hedging her bets by going to college too. It's just that, you know, I do think the experience is good for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of good that comes out. I know that there's a lot of good that came out of it for me. But look, if at the end of the day, when you come out of high school and you're thinking, okay, I need to put food on the table for myself and for the family that I'd like to have, I'm going to want to be able to go on vacations and have some things that are nice in my life, then not going to college is a very wise move, because it gives you control of your number one asset, which is your time. And this could probably sum up my whole lecture, but is control of your time. You're going to go to college for a degree and to get a job. You're basically working really hard to let someone else control your time. If you work really hard as an entrepreneur, right out of the gate, coming out of high school, you are controlling your time. If you want to go have a sandwich and a beer at lunch, you go have a sandwich and a beer at lunch. If you can take a 2-hour lunch, you want to take a half a day off, whatever you want to, you start having kids, you want to have kids. I promise you go to college and you do very well. You're going to get in your 40s. And if you're still married with kids at home, you're going to wonder, how the hell can you free up some time? It's going so fast and you hardly see your family. You don't have hardly any money for your family. Why not go the other route and master your time and find a way to build your own support financial system going so that you can enjoy your time, enjoy your life, and not get to your 40s and start being full of regret. And by the time you're from going to 20 to 40, you might have 20 different you might have a business a year.
I have a student right now. I mean, this is a perfect example. So I was doing a workshop at the Art Institute in Orange County here, and it was a storytelling workshop. And this is a student I've actually teamed with. He's actually helping me with my website. He's a brilliant young kid. He's 19, 20 years old. We mentioned cannabis earlier. He's got a business that relates to the manufacturing of the equipment, okay? And this dude is making he's making like 4 figures a month. He's making 4 figures a month, and the kid's only 22. And I'm like, why are you even getting your degree if you're going to do into this? He's like, well, my parents, and I get that. Okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, I just wanted to get one anyway, and just kind of it wasn't really a real reason, but this dude's he's like I want to go all in on my businesses, and I was like, dude, I wish to God I need you to come talk to my other classes. I'm actually trying to enlist him to come talk to my other classes because he is a perfect example of what Todd and I are talking about, which is build something first, fail first, make mistakes. It's okay. Go out there, try it, do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You have to adapt, right?
Yeah. College teaches you nothing as far as being an entrepreneur. The street teaches you that. So you can get that education the day you leave high school. You can get it before you leave high school.
Right.
College prepares you for a job.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, hey, I think that we've gone an hour 20 now, and this is, I mean, as always, Todd, I love talking to you.
I've had a great time,
dude. This was just rock solid, and thank you so much for being here. Let's try to wrap up here because I know you got stuff to do, and Lord knows I do too. First of all, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on the show. This has been, I think the last 20, 30 minutes especially, I love it. I think we ended on such a high note.
I agree.
Like a rocket ship, with all this, the value. So why don't you tell Nez Nation, and I'm going to leave all this stuff in the notes, Nez Nation, but why don't you tell Nez Nation a little bit where they can find you and how they can reach you? Awesome.
I do the same thing at the end of my show for my guests. Todd.Live, Instagram, is Todd.Live. Snapchat is Todd.Live. Then Facebook is Todd.dot. So you actually have to spell it out. Todd.Live is my personal Facebook. Todd.Live page is my Todd.Live page. Of course, you can just type in Todd.Live in Facebook and it'll find it. The website Todd.Live is coming very soon. Right now, you can go to divorcetheworkforce.com if you want to see what I've been into lately. And of course, on iTunes, all you have to do is put in my name, Todd Bergen, or Divorce the Workforce. The podcast will come up. It will not come up if you type in Todd.Live because my podcast doesn't. Yeah, there's no
fix that.
Well, I'm gonna have a new podcast for Todd.Live, but yeah,
oh, cool.
If you want to find the podcast, and Professor Nez was one of my guests. I think he was like number 7 or 8 or 10. He was one of my early podcasts. Yeah, so
loved it.
But you can find me, and I answer everybody wherever you find me. So feel free to reach out anytime.
And also, I'm really curious now. I mean, I not only you guys have to go subscribe to the Divorce the Workforce podcast. It's stunningly good. I mean, stunningly.
Thank you.
And when I say stunningly good, I don't mean that as like, why should it be good? I just mean it because this is a dude who, again, like I said earlier in the broadcast, this guy doesn't have a background in this, but he's just so amazing. And I think maybe that's why he's so good, is he's not bogged down by all that conditioning and all the pollution that can come from training so much and just thinking about what I like about your style, Todd, is it's not intellectual, it's more experiential. And that's what I try to advocate in my courses. I don't want this to be an intellectual class. I hate intellectual shit. I want it to be experiential, practical, real, right? And I think maybe that's why your podcast is so good. I mean, it just hit me right now because you don't have all that intellectual pollution,
Well, there's not really any theory. It's all experience. We're either I'm bringing my experience into the show or the guest is bringing their experience into the show. But I've lived the life. I started entrepreneurship when I was 13. So I've done, and I've also gone to college and done the 9 to 5. So I've lived both sides of it. And I know the pluses and minuses of both sides. And I've had to like I said, I've had to shut businesses, turn them on a dime, and move on, and things that I worked really hard for, put a lot of money into, and I know what that's all about, and I'm not scared of it, and I actually embrace. By the time I get to that point, I embrace it. So it's like, it's like, let's throw a party. I'm shutting this fucker down, And so. And other people are like, are you kidding me? It's like, yeah, let's shut it down. Let's throw a party. It's time to drink some beers and have some fun and move on to the next project.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I've lived the life. Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much. Again, Nez Nation, please, if you got any value out of this, share this. If you will, please, if you want to get more notifications and find out when the Nez Nation Live is going live, hit that like button up there, hit the follow button. You'll always be notified when Nez Nation goes live. I want to give another big thank you to our guest, Todd.Live. And again, I will be sharing all the notes in the description where you can find him. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. We didn't even talk about social media marketing world, which is going on right now. We'll have to do that next time. But I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is your host, Professor Nez, signing off. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.